Hey students, in this video I'm going to be walking you through a little bit about working with data, using spreadsheets, and a little bit of math understanding when it comes to large data sets. So why would we be doing this? I want to start by sharing this with you. These are the tech skills that we asked our whole community about at the start of the year. And if we look at grade 9s, let's say grade 9 only, we're going to see that spreadsheets and data was one of our lowest ranked ones. So this is an area that high school kids really want to get better in. They really want to know more about it. And it's really great because spreadsheets are awesome. It's the first step to coding, computational thinking, working with data. And I think you're going to find it to be a really challenging and fun task. So where did this data come from today? I want to show you also this website right here. It's called Kaggle, Kaggle. And this is like a data depository where you can go and you can find all sorts of data sets that you might need for your project if you want real world data. So, I mean, you can search through it on your own if you'd like, but it's got health data, happiness, movie data, vaccine data, telecom data, anything you want. So that's where this data came from. This is an awesome site, very good for you to use, and it's Creative Commons. Okay. So with that said, here's the data that we are going to be working with today. I pulled it off Kaggle. It's called the Student Performance Sample Data. So what this is a data set. I'm not sure if it's real or not, to be honest with you. And it's broken down to a few things. So gender, race, lunch. Does the student eat lunch or are they given lunch? Level of test preparation, level of parent education, their math score, their writing score, and their reading score. So it has from A to H, that's what, 8 columns. And if you scroll down, you're gonna see it's got a ton of rows. So it's got about 1,000 rows on it. So this is really good because the data is too long for you to see any trends immediately. It's too long for you to do any manual calculations. So this data set is going to force you to learn how to work with data in a more efficient way. If we come down to the bottom here, it says we have student performance data. Okay, so this is the raw data. Student questions on tab number 2, and this is the questions that we want you to get through. I'll be sure in the video description to link to each section of the video where I answer each question so you don't have to watch the whole thing start to finish. And then we also have the student responses. So it's the same as the data. But if you scroll down right around here, it's going to give you the answers. So you can see those answers for yourself and check your work. Okay, let's begin. The first question I'm going to ask is on the questions tab. Let me just zoom in here so we can read it all together. This is a very basic math type question. Calculate. Oh, too big, too much. Okay, so the first question I'm going to ask is a very typical math question. Calculate the mean, median, and mode for math, reading, and writing. The most basic type of formula question that we would get. So I'm going to jump back to the performance data section. I know that math score, writing score, and reading score are on the top. So I'm going to show you a quick trick. You can see that if I scroll down, I lose those titles. So I'm going to click on the number 1 to highlight the whole row. And then I'm going to go view, freeze, 1 row, okay? So highlight and then view, freeze, and then you're gonna see that no matter how far I scroll down, the title, the header sticks with me, so really important stuff. Okay, so we're coming right down to the bottom. We know there's about 1,000 rows. Where are we here? Okay, perfect. So the math score. Another word for math score is the average, or for the mean, rather. So every formula is going to look the same. We're going to start with the equal sign, and then we're going to type in the formula name. So in this case, average, which is the same as mean. And then we need to put in the range. The range works like this. It is way up to the top. We're going to see that my math score starts on F2, and it ends on F. Slow down there, Skippy. F101, okay? So average equals F2 colon F1001, enter, okay? There it is. 66,089 is the average math score. Sounds about right. Next, median. We're going to follow the same pattern. Equals median. Okay, so I just type in the word median and it says it will select the median. And then I get this awesome blue question mark. If you click on that, it's going to give you a bit of information about how you need to write your formula. So same thing. Median equals the range. My range again was F2 to F1001, close parentheses, and enter. 66. Looks good, seems to make sense. It would be a whole number because it's just lining them up and finding the one in the middle. And finally, the classic mode, the number that occurs the most. Same thing, F2 colon F1001, close parentheses, and 65 is the mode, okay, the number that incurs the most. So now we've done the formulas. We can see them here, the average, the median, and the mode. Now what's really cool is I can just drag across by grabbing this square in the bottom right-hand corner and dragging it across. And now there's the median the mean for writing and reading, the median for reading and writing, boom, boom, and the mode for reading and writing, just like that. All right, question number 2. Write out the formula to return the number of students in each category of parent level education. What exactly does that mean? If we come up here to our sheet, we have all the different students, and then one of the factors we have is their parental level of education. So some parents just went to high school, some didn't even finish high school, some went to college, some got advanced degrees, so on and so forth. So this question is to count how many students have parents in each one of the categories. So there's bachelor's, high school, some college, etc. So the first step we are going to do is we need to make out this list right here, which I have from I-1007 to I-1012. So we know what each category is. And we're going to be using this equation right here, count if. Let's just zoom in. What count if is it's saying if you meet a certain condition like being in the right category, count how many people are in there. So let's check it out, how it works. Count if parental level of education is E, so from E2 to E1001, okay, so that's the range. So we're looking in there. If the person has, quote, some high school, oh, I'm on caps lock, it looks like. Some high school, quote, close. Doesn't look like it's quite right. I think I've made a mistake. I think I need double quotes. Ah, it seems to like that better. Turn green. Okay. So look on the parental level of education column. Count if there is some high school. Enter. What do we get? 179. Looks good. Now, I can't copy this one down because I'm searching for different things. So if I do that, it's just going to count the number of some high school again. So for this one, we want to get rid of some high school and we just want to type in high school. It has to be exact. So high school needs to be, in my case, all lowercase. How does it look? If we go into the data, it's little h, little s for high school. So we know that that is the proper way to do it. Okay. So now we can see that high school, oh, now they're all mixed up. So let me just go Command Z and undo. Okay. So come back in here and it's not some high school, this is just high school. Looks good. 196. Now, okay, how many have had some college? I'll copy it down again. That copies high school. And now we want to put in some college. Some college. Enter. 225. So this little count if is working well. I'm going to let you finish these on your own. Find out how many you can get in each one. And remember, this is asking for the formula. So the answer to this question would be this. Count if, range, comma, quotes, the category you're looking for. Okay, question number 3. Calculate the average math score based on their parents' level of education. Copy these numbers as values only. What exactly does this mean? Well, we know that we have different levels of parental education, and we calculated those previously. But now we want to do is calculate what is the math score for the students based on these different levels. So I'm going to start by copying these categories. I'm going to move down here. And remember, these are math scores now. And now we're going to do something very similar. So we know math scores are the F column. So now we're going to use equals average if. So very similar to count if. If a student matches this criteria, average their scores together. So we need to be a little bit careful with average if though, because the way the formula works is just a little bit different. So it's average if criteria range. So what is the range of what we're looking for? Then what is the criterion? So what is the exact thing we have in quotes? And then what is the average range, or where is the numbers where we need to look? So there's three things we need to look for. What is the range of the criteria? What is the criteria title? And then where is the range of the numbers? So average if criteria range is actually E2 1000 to 1, comma, some high school. F2 to F1001. Close parentheses, return. Ah, there we have it. Okay, but we're not quite finished. So we've used the average if function to find the averages of the different parental levels of education. But if we jump back to the question, it says that we're actually supposed to copy these numbers as values only. And this is important to know about spreadsheets, is if we look at what we just created, it looks like these are numbers, but they actually aren't numbers. They're formulas that are represented by numbers. So that means if we want to do any math on these numbers, we need to copy them as values, not as formulas, because you can't add up a formula. You can only add up a value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go shift to the right to select 2, and then I'm going to go shift Command Shift down, we'll say, to select all of them. And then I'm going to go Command Copy to copy. And now I'm going to come just a little bit lower. And here where it says Edit, I'm going to paste Special. And I'm going to paste values only, which means forget about any formulas that are in there and just paste the numbers. Boom, and there they come. And now I can do math with these numbers. Okay, question 4 is a very simple one. It says, adjust the values in question 3, so the values we just copied and pasted, down to 2 decimal places. This is kind of actually a tricky thing to do, because if we just delete the back numbers, we might be cutting off important rounding that we need. So let me show you a little shortcut that you can do. So I'm going to select the cell that has the first number, and then we're going to go do that Command Shift down trick to select all the way to the bottom of the list. And then right here, I want to show you have increased decimal places and the option to decrease decimal places. So let's decrease the entire decimal place down to just 2. Okay, that's much cleaner. Now we can work with it. 5, we're starting to get towards the end of our list. Calculate the standard deviation between the math scores for students based on averages of parental level of education. So it seems straightforward enough. If we go back to our student data that we've just been working with, here are the different levels of math scores for the students based on their average parental level of education. So now all we need is the standard deviation. Standard deviation. And this is really going to start getting into some of the math concepts that we talk about in school, but the standard deviation can be easily calculated, again, using a formula. So this one equals ST_dev. So that's the root of standard deviation. And if you click on your blue box again, it's going to give you an exact description of how to use this formula. So it calculates the standard deviation based on the sample. Our sample looks to be J1021 to J1026. So another way you can do that is just drag and drop, and you're going to see copies that range for me. And I just close the parentheses. Boom, there it is, 3.01. Quite statistically significant. Okay, question 6. Create a histogram of the frequency of student math scores. Use the ranges of 10 to demark the bands. So now we're really getting into some good stats and data visualization. So all we need for this one, if we come way up to the top of our data set, all we really need for this is column F. Okay, so the math score. So we're asking for a histogram, or basically a chart, to show how many test scores fall within certain bands. So just like we've done before, we're going to go Command Shift down. If you have a PC, that's going to be Control Shift down. And that's going to take you all the way to the bottom of the data set. So you don't have to, scroll down 1,000 times. But what you're going to notice here is that it also copied our mean, median, and mode from earlier. So I'm just going to go Shift up. 1, 2, 3. So hold down the Shift and go back up, and then you can cut off those ends. So this is the data that we want to work with, 1,000 rows of math scores. Look around your Google Sheets. You're going to be looking for the insert chart icon. It's a little box with 3 bars inside of it. And you click it one time, and it's going to do its best to try and figure it out, what type of chart it would be. So sometimes it gives you something wacky like this. That's obviously not too helpful. So you want to search around in your chart editor and find the chart that you're looking for. And the one that we're looking for, it's suggested, it's very smart, says do a histogram. So it's going to pull in histogram of math scores, and you can see that it's giving you basically the counts of how many people got certain scores. So we got that classic bell shape, a few kids did really bad, a few kids did really great, and a lot of kids were somewhere in the middle. Where it says customize, we can click on histogram and we can show item dividers. Okay, so that would be how many individual kids are in each bar. It's too many to see, so let's turn that off. Bucket size or band size is really cool. So here's where you can select the band width for your histogram. So we want to see how many kids had scores of 0 to 10, 10 to 20, etc. And here it is. By changing the bucket size to 10, we can now hover over each one, and it's going to tell us how many kids scored each one. So you can see that most kids scored between 60 and 70. I had to eyeball it, I'd say about 200. Okay, so let's close that now, and it looks like our chart is ready to go. And you can see now that when you click on it, these are live bars. So you can see that between 60 and 70, there was 268 kids who scored that. There was only 7 kids who were in the top 5 percentile. And there you can even see it looks like there's some bad data. So someone got 105% on this test. We can see that there was 51 kids between 90 and 100%. So some great data visualization, a great way to make sense of this huge data set. Okay, and now we are ready for our final task. Create a scatter plot of the average math score performance based on parent level of education and include a trend line. Okay, so I'm going to come back to our raw data. I'm going to size back a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here a little bit more. And we've already calculated the numbers that we need for this task. So the numbers that we need are these ones right here. These are, let's just bring it in here. These are the averages on math scores based on parent level of education, which we already calculated, and then we copied them as values only. So now we can start working with them. What I want to point out here is I added in some numbers. So it's 1, some high school, 2, high school, 3, some college, 4, associate's degree. By adding in that number to the categories, Google Sheets will know to organize them on an axis in order. So it won't put a master's degree as being more advanced than a college degree, or some high school as more advanced than some college. So by adding in these numbers from complexity or level of achievement in education, we're going to have a much better visualization. Shift right, Command Shift down to get the data. Once again, we're going to jump into our chart editor. Okay, so it's going to default to the histogram chart that we've already been working with. Let's go ahead and select scatter chart. Okay, looks good. So if we close this, and I'm going to just size my window here, you can see an interesting bit of data here. So we can see that it seems like the scores are generally trending up with more complex forms of parent education. But then when it gets to master's degree, those scores seem to go down. Maybe that's because it's a small sample set. We need to do one more thing. We need to edit and add in a trend line. So let's go back to edit the chart. And we are going to click on series, and down at the bottom of series, we have the option to add in the trend line. So there is our trend line. It automatically is going to calculate it and place it for us. And the fact that we can see it very so slightly trending upwards to the right means that there's a positive correlation. A small one, but it's there. So basically, as a parent's level of complexity in their education goes up, so do child test scores. All right, we're going to leave it there for today. So that's it. Congratulations. You've just learned a ton about Google Sheets, data visualization, even a little bit about statistics. What I'd like to challenge you to do now is to head on over to Kaggle and create an account for yourself with your school email address, find the data set, and then start asking your own questions and making sense of that data set using what you've learned here today. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you learned a lot. Take care.